The film opens with a young Eric Draven running outside of his home to find his beloved horse lying in pain after walking into a barbed wire fence. The boy tries to help him but injures his hands on the wiring, while his mother is passed out drunk in the house. The adult Eric talks about the pain of losing a loved one and how you never forget or forgive. In present-day Detroit, a young woman, Shelley, gets a phone call from her friend Zadie to let her know that an incriminating video has been sent to some bad people, and both women are involved. As Zadie is trying to get somewhere safe, she is found by criminals Marion and Lex. Shelley tries to flee her apartment but gets arrested on the streets when cops find drugs in her purse. Marion and Lex bring Zadie to their boss, a crime boss named Vincent Reg. Zadie is brought to a room where Reg speaks with her. He has made a pact with the devil to avoid being sent to hell if he can deliver innocent souls in his place. Reg whispers something into Zadie's ear that makes her pick up a dagger and stab herself in the throat so she can bleed out. Shelley is brought to a rehab center where Eric is also staying. He is frequently antagonized by the other patients there and spends his time drawing and writing music. Eric meets Shelley, where they quickly develop a mutual attraction and affection for one another. Shelley later finds that her mother Sophia is visiting, but she's with Marion and Lex. Shelley starts to panic, but Eric helps her so that they can both escape the facility and run back to her apartment, where they have sex, do drugs, and talk to each other about what drew them to one another, as well as things about their past. A crooked detective named Melch contacts Reg while he is observing a piano prodigy, informing him that Zadie's body has been found. Reg and Marion are concerned with finding Shelley's video before they are exposed. Eric and Shelley continue to grow in their relationship and even spend time with her friends. On a night out, Shelley runs into her friend Dorm, who warns her that Reg's guys are coming after her. She and Eric rush back to his apartment, but Lex and other goons are already there. They attack the couple and place bags over their heads to suffocate them to death. Eric pulls himself out of a lake and follows a crow to a hidden location that looks like an abandoned train yard. He meets a spirit named Kronos, explains that Eric is in some sort of limbo and that his soul cannot rest until the tragedy he has endured can be avenged. Eric dismisses this as a nightmare until Kronos pushes him into a pool, and he wakes up in his apartment. He finds Milch there investigating, and he shoots Eric in the chest. Eric rises, bleeding but still able to fight back. Milch tries to kill him again, but Eric stabs Milch in the neck, killing him. He then runs into the bathroom and finds that his wounds are slowly healing themselves. Eric leaves his apartment and goes into the streets where he sees what looks like Shelley about to jump off a bridge. When he tries to run after her, he returns to the limbo station with Kronos. Eric realizes he and Shelley are both dead, but Kronos tells him about Reg, and if Eric can kill him and his men, he and Shelley can come back to life. Kronos sends Eric back into the world so that he can go to his friend Chance and get a gun from him. Afterwards, he goes to Shelley's funeral and finds Sophia there. While she denies that her daughter was murdered, Eric tells Sophia that he will kill everyone responsible for Shelley's death. He goes into her old room and finds photos, letters, and a badge of Shelley's when she worked for Reg's company. Eric goes out and finds Lex in his car. Before he can get any answers out of him, Lex tries to draw his gun but gets his brains blown out first by Eric. He then spots Reg and Marion leaving a place and goes after them, throwing himself in front of their car so that he can fight them inside. After a hectic drive and some gunfire, Eric gets thrown out of the car and is run over by a truck. He painfully limps until his bones snap back into place. Reg then goes to Sophia's house, where she tells him about her meeting with Eric. She tells Reg that she regrets the deal she made with him and that she should have died instead. Reg whispers in Sophia's ear, causing her to throw herself out of her window to her death. Eric encounters Dorm on the street and interrogates him over Shelley's involvement with Reg and his goons. Dorm says that he, Shelley, and Zadie used to get drugs from Reg and party with him. Eventually, Eric sees the video of Shelley, which is of Reg using his power to make Shelley stab another woman to death, leaving Eric shaken. Eric goes back to Chance's apartment, where Reg's goon Wickham and others arrive to bring Eric in on Reg's orders. Wickham shoots Chance in the head while Eric fights the other goons until one of them blasts him with a shotgun. Eric returns to the limbo station and learns from Kronos that since his love for Shelley was left in doubt after watching the video, Eric can no longer bring either of them back to life. He makes one last request to return and save Shelley's soul while he remains dead. Kronos then uses some of his blood to give Eric enhanced abilities so that he can return once more. Back in the apartment, Eric shoots the goon that shot him before bludgeoning Wickham to death. He reads a text from Marion meant for Wickham, revealing that Reg will be at the opera house. Eric then dons black face paint so that he may finally become the Crow. Eric arrives at the opera armed with a blade. When Reg's bodyguards catch wind of him, they attempt to shoot and stab Eric, only for him to slaughter them in numerous gruesome ways. He eventually kills all of them until only Marion is left. She tells Eric that Reg is at his mansion, while she appears to express some remorse for her involvement in Reg's crimes. Eric decapitates her and then throws her head into the audience, sending the theatergoers screaming in terror. Eric goes to Reg's mansion for the final showdown. Reg stabs Eric in the chest and tries to absorb his blood like he did with Zadie, but Eric's love for Shelley reignites his will to fight. He pushes Reg through a mirror, which sends them into the limbo station. Eric beats the shit out of Reg before he gets pulled underwater by vengeful spirits. Shelley's soul resurfaces from the water, and she reunites with Eric. However, he tells her that he cannot go back with her, despite her pleas to join him in death. Eric reaffirms his love for Shelley just as she is revived next to Eric's corpse. She weeps for him. Eric remains in the station as his final narration is about how his love for Shelley will live on in what she does. He envisions her continuing to live her life, singing and being with friends. Eric says that this is almost good enough for him. So, what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video. The film opens in a post-apocalyptic world where the remnants of humanity live in primitive tribes, avoiding advanced technology and desperately trying to steer clear of beasts that spread a disease turning people into mutants. One day, Saban ventures beyond the designated hunting grounds, dismissing the elders' cautiousness as a sign of their age. His father, Chief Yuri, catches him and reprimands him for risking the village's safety. Saban defends his actions, pointing out that they've only had leaves and berries for days, and he wants to prove himself as a capable hunter and future chief. Reluctantly, Yuri agrees to let him continue. As they go deeper into the forest, they encounter Caleb, who is tracking an animal. Despite having strayed far from the hunting grounds, Yuri allows them to proceed a bit further when they hear an animal nearby. They soon face a massive mutated sloth, and to Caleb's annoyance, Yuri appoints Saban to lead the attack. Working together, they manage to bring down the beast, which is much larger than them. Yuri declares that both Saban and Caleb will share the heart, as their combined efforts provided meat for the tribe. Suddenly, one of their friends stumbles out of the forest, already infected and transforming into a mutant. He begs for death, but Saban hesitates to do it. A spear flies out from the forest, killing him, which enrages Saban. They decide to return to the village, unaware that a mysterious man named Amal is tracking them. Upon their arrival, Doral greets Saban, praising his success, while a jealous Caleb is teased by his sister Miru, who points out his lack of chances with Doral. Yuri consults the elders, urging them to move the tribe elsewhere as the mutants are closing in, but they refuse, insisting that they are safe where they are and should leave their fate to the gods. Caleb expresses a desire to choose his own fate, like his father Jarrett did while searching for the truth, but the elders dismiss this, reminding him that Jarrett met his end in that quest. Yuri agrees that there's nothing out there but disease and death. After discussing their father with his sister, Caleb decides to leave the village to seek the truth, despite Miru's skepticism. However, he doesn't get far. Upon reaching the river, he spots a group of mutants heading toward the village and returns to help. The mutants attack, and the warriors engage in a brutal fight. Although they kill some mutants, they are vastly outnumbered, and the elders order everyone to hide in a cave. As Saban watches the mutants kill his father, the elders instruct the young ones to seal the cave, leaving Caleb, Saban, and Doral outside. Doral is attacked by a mutant, but Caleb saves her, though she embraces Savin afterward. The trio hides behind a large rock, observing the mutants as they search for a way into the cave. Savin wants to distract and attack them, but Caleb believes they should seek help. Doral agrees, arguing that staying means certain death, while leaving offers at least a small chance of survival. Reluctantly, Savin follows them away from the area. After some time, they stop by the river, unaware that Amal is still watching them. Savin discovers a book in Caleb's bag, and Caleb explains that it's an artifact from the old world, brought to him by his father, who taught him to read, a skill no one else in their tribe possesses. Their conversation is cut short when a mutant appears nearby, forcing them to flee once again, believing they've reached safety, at least for now. The mutant quickly catches up to the group and attacks, but Savin hesitates to defend himself when he recognizes that the creature is actually Yuri, overtaken by the infection. Before the mutant can strike, Amal appears and kills it, reminding Savin that Yuri was no longer himself. Amal then reveals that he knew Caleb's father and asks if anyone's nose is bleeding, explaining that the infection can be transmitted through the air, not just through bites. While a bite causes rapid transformation, merely breathing near a mutant can lead to a slower, more agonizing infection. As Amal leads them back to his home, he explains that he's immune to the infection due to a rare yellow powder that acts as a cure, although it's difficult to obtain. He makes them cross a river to reach his home, as the mutants fear water, which is why they've never reached Amal's dwelling, an old, ruined building. Once there, Amal introduces them to his son Persk and his wife Nina. Nina is furious that Amal has brought potentially infected people into their home, but he believes the risk is worth it. During lunch, Amal shares the true story of what happened to their world, which many believe was a punishment from God. In reality, humans tried to resurrect extinct animals, inadvertently reviving a deadly disease they couldn't control. Caleb's father, with his ability to read, researched this history and developed the yellow powder as a cure. Unfortunately, Jarrett died before he could return to the village with the powder, and it was stolen by a ruthless man named Gagan, who now hoards it. Amal proposes that they journey to the abandoned city where the powder and possibly its formula are hidden, hoping Caleb can decipher it. The group agrees to follow him. As night falls, everyone settles into sleep, but Nina hears noises and locks the door. Caleb also wakes up to sounds and discovers Savin and Doral making love. Unable to look away, he watches until Doral notices him, and they exchange a glance before Caleb turns away. Meanwhile, back in the village, the mutants begin using the weapons from fallen villagers to break through the wooden barriers at the cave entrance. Miru suggests they should take action, but the elder insists they should only pray. Remy, however, refuses to sit idly by and begins moving smaller rocks at the back of the cave, despite the elder's disapproval. Miru, believing survival is paramount, helps him dig. After they create a small opening, she, Remy, and Yomak crawl through it. They find a narrow tunnel filled with water and a breeze, but the gap is so tight that only Miru can fit through. She attempts to swim through but quickly retreats when leeches attach to her body. The boys help remove them, and undeterred, Miru decides to try again, determined not to give up. As this unfolds, the elders at the cave entrance watch the mutants through the gaps in the wood. One of the creatures manages to slip its hand through, but the elders kill it with a spear. However, one elder's nose starts to bleed, indicating infection. Yomak also begins to show signs of infection after crossing the underwater gap with Remy, following Miru's path. They discover a tunnel leading outside but are met by mutants. They quickly retreat, but Yomak falls and breaks his leg. Knowing he will slow them down, Yomak stays behind to act as bait while Miru and Remy escape. Miru and Remy successfully cross the underwater gap, while the mutants, after devouring Yomak, hesitate at the water's edge. When Miru and Remy return to the main cave, they find that many of their fellow villagers have succumbed to the disease, displaying its devastating symptoms. As the elder's condition worsens, he pleads for mercy, but Remy refuses to act. Taking matters into her own hands, Miru grabs his spear and swiftly stabs him before he can mutate, urging the others to do the same for her if it ever comes to that. The next morning, Amal and the trio set out from the ruins in search of the powder. They board Amal's raft, and the boys learn to row, a skill they've never encountered before. From the hills, a group of mutants spots them and starts hurling rocks, prompting the group to row faster until they manage to escape. Amal shares a story about a brotherhood that existed before Gagan's conflict over the powder. He believes some of the brotherhood might still be around, so when they reach the shore, he plans to light a beacon to see if they'll respond. While Amal is atop a tower igniting a fire, a group of mutants approaches, and he tells the trio to run while he fights them off. Caleb hesitates to leave, but Savin, sensing the danger, drags him and Doral back to the raft. Amal falls into a hole as the mutants pursue him, and one even falls in with him. Amal stabs the mutant with an arrow, trapping himself beneath its body. Unaware that the Brotherhood has seen the beacon and is on their way to help, the trio paddles away on the raft, only to discover that Doral is beginning to nosebleed, a sign of infection. Meanwhile, the Brotherhood rescues Amal, who informs them that he has found someone who can read and needs protection. The trio reaches the ruins of an old city, where they find people living under a strict tyranny. When a man is whipped for stealing and tries to flee, the trio approaches him to ask about the powder. Frightened by their questions, the man runs away again, and Savin chases after him but loses him. When Savin returns, he finds Doral and Caleb being taken by guards to meet Gagan and his daughter, Giselle. Gagan refuses to share the powder, even after Caleb reveals that he is the Creator's son and can replicate it. Gagan, concerned only for his descendants, allows Caleb to try recreating it in the library but confines Doral to isolation. Once Gagan leaves, Savin sneaks into Giselle's room and asks her to help him find the powder. Initially reluctant out of fear of her father, Giselle changes her mind after witnessing his cruelty, learning that he stole the powder, and hearing Savin's plea to give hope to thousands of survivors. Giselle leads Savin to her father's safe, which is supposedly locked with a key around Gagan's neck. However, the dusty state of the safe makes Savin doubt her claim, as it contradicts Giselle's assertion that Gagan uses the powder daily. They search the room for hidden compartments but find nothing, so Giselle devises a plan. In the library, Caleb finds his father's research. Although he can read it, understanding and recreating the powder will take weeks, a luxury he doesn't have as he begins to nosebleed too. Gagan dismisses Caleb's efforts and refuses to give him any powder to slow the infection. Their argument is interrupted by Giselle, who claims someone is trying to steal the powder. Gagan rushes to the room and finds no one there but checks the powder's hiding place, a flashlight concealed inside a wall. Savin ambushes Gagan, knocking him out, and Giselle shares the powder with him, curing his symptoms. Together, they rescue Doral, and after knocking out a guard, they escape with the lantern. Savin and Doral rush to the library, where they fight off another guard and cure Caleb. The trio leaves the city but soon encounters a group of guards in the forest. Savin distracts the guards, engaging in a fight until he's knocked unconscious. The three of them manage to get back on the raft and row to the nearest shore. They climb the hills and come upon a rickety rope bridge, which they cross carefully. However, Gagan and his men catch up with them, and Caleb is hit in the leg with an arrow. Once across, Savin instructs Doral to help Caleb, as he is humanity's only hope with his ability to recreate the powder. Savin returns to the bridge and begins cutting the ropes, causing the soldiers to fall. This gives Gagan an opportunity to shoot Savin with a couple of arrows, sending him plummeting as well. Doral and Caleb continue running and are soon found by Amal and the Brotherhood, who track them after discovering the abandoned raft. They quickly return to the village, where the mutants have started digging under the entrance to reach the tribe. The Brotherhood swiftly kills the mutants while Doral enters the cave to distribute the powder, just in time to prevent Meru from taking her own life out of fear of mutation. After the battle, Gagan arrives and shoots an arrow at Caleb, but Amal sacrifices himself by taking the hit. Enraged, Caleb hurls an axe at Gagan, finally killing him. Sometime later, after taking Amal back to his home, Caleb says goodbye to his sister, who is now teaching children to read. He then sets off for the city, determined to find the library again and complete his father's work to save humanity. So, what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.